So happy Father's Day, everybody, all fathers and everybody. May we all manifest those divine qualities of the Heavenly Father when called upon to do so. And thank you, fathers, for being great examples. Okay, I'm going to read from Whispers from Eternity. And this is entitled, May I reap the greatest harvest in the short season of this earth life. My allotted plot of consciousness was small. Carelessly, I let it grow barren. It produced no crops of inner life-sustaining culture. Now the bleak winter of dead opportunities approaches with its pall of unproductivity. My lot is small and my life's season is short. Yet now I would produce a mighty harvest. I will expand my kingdom of willpower. To do so, I must conquer new states of consciousness, enlarge my achievements, and outgrow in consciousness every limiting horizon. But, O Father Divine, there are billions of my hungry thought families and their little ones to feed. And for them, I need a big harvest during this short season of my earth life. The irrigating waters of my craving many times grew dry, while my soil of inner culture was left undeveloped. Now I will work all the harder, using the machinery of scientific technique in my search for thee. O divine sower, with thine unseen hand, throw thy living seeds of inspiration into the cultivated furrows of my awakened resolution. In this short, remaining season of my earthly life, let me reap the largest harvest of all, thy cosmic vision. Very beautiful and inspiring words from Yogananda. His whispers from eternity, eternally speaking to us, guiding us, and inspiring us. Our topic today is how devotees rise. And recently, we had a friend visiting here who lives in one of our other communities. A friend of some years, but not many, pretty new, I think, to Ananda, but such enthusiasm. And this person was sharing with us recently, saying, I am living in a miracle. And this person was just bubbling with effervescence and just spilling over in wonder and awe. I am living in a miracle. And they were referencing the Ananda community in which they lived, but just to say that whether you are living in an Ananda community or not, wherever we are at any moment in time, if we are striving to live a life for God, if we are trying to be firmly on the spiritual path, we are living in a miracle. And I want you to just close your eyes for a moment and repeat those words to yourself. I am living in a miracle. Okay. So this is a very powerful truth, and it's a very real truth. And yet each one of us needs to sustain that miracle. Each one of us needs to feed that miracle continually for it to be so, for it to be experienced by ourselves and by others. And it's an amazing opportunity. When Yogananda was a little baby in his mother's arms, his mother and father journeyed to Varanasi, Benares then, to visit their guru, Lahiri Mahashai. And Lahiri took that baby on his lap, the baby avatar Yogananda, and he said to Yogananda's parents, "Your son will be a spiritual engine that will bring many souls to God." And Yogananda explained that an avatar, as he was and is, can bring as many souls to God as want to come to God. We are all those souls, and that spiritual engine is behind us, driving us forward if we want to go on this journey into the light. Swami Kriyananda would say again and again, you can be a Jivan Mukta in this life, which is freed, inwardly freed, free, although living perhaps in a body, yes, but you can be this in this life. You'll have to work at it, but you can be this. And that's miraculous, isn't it? It's a little hard to get one's head around it. Just me? You're talking about me? We might all say. But there it is, this living miracle of which we are a part, a miracle of transformation, a miracle of transcendence. And we are on that journey, and we can go as far as we want to go. They're going to take us there. But we have to work at it. I remember, if we think, I don't want to forget this point, if we think of Yogananda and all of the incredible things that he did, accomplished in his life, and so on, certainly one of the greatest takeaways is that he taught us how to spiritualize every aspect of our life. There is not one thing we could raise our hand and mention, some aspect of life, of living on this plane, that he did not address. And certainly activity, action, non-action, all of this encompassed in living a life for God. I remember many years ago in the early 1980s here at the village, and we were just embarking on a major building phase for this community. The Crystal Hermitage, the housing, everything. And Ananta, in order to meet this need and meet the agricultural needs as well, he borrowed a large sum of money, $80,000. I think that's still a lot, right? But it was certainly even a lot more then, from his father, to buy a backhoe, some heavy equipment so we could not be in the ditches all the time. It was too much, too big to just go out with a shovel. And so he started doing that work, and with the intention to pay his father back. And right about that time, somewhere in there, in those earlier years, Swami Kriyananda said to Ananta, looked right at him and said, "You've already worked enough for this incarnation." Okay, so what do you do with that information, Well, right after Ananta had made this purchase, I think it was him and Nakula, and Swamiji asked Ananta and I to go to Sacramento and to serve in Ananda Sacramento. And so, fair question, Ananta asked Swamiji, well, I've just acquired this very expensive piece of machinery, which I'm very committed to paying back. Have any suggestions? And Swamiji, if you can believe it, he said, oh, just do both. So for a couple of years, Ananta would drive up and do the work on the land here that was needed, and then go back in the evening and teach classes. And somehow it did work, but interesting suggestion. And but you know, it puts in light, I think, in fact, if I remember correctly, I think the first class that we were scheduled to teach when we arrived there, they'd been promoting this for, you know, a month or so, to the people there, was super conscious living. So, big opportunity. And but we're living in a miracle. And if we can go forward with open heart, solutions come. And these opportunities become very liberating opportunities. We were reading recently a little pamphlet, Thank You Master, by Peggy Dietz, a direct disciple of Yogananda's. And what a delightful character she was. Great disciple. And she was sharing how she had a very different role than a lot of the others. She wasn't monastic, but she was living there for a couple years at Mount Washington in a very different role. Yogananda really worked with her in a different kind of way. When they were building the lake shrine, he would have her drive him out to look at the grounds, see what was happening, you know, give advice, this kind of thing. And he asked Peggy, he said, I want you to go out and mix with people. Other people can do the centers, other people can do the classes, you know, this kind of thing. But I want you to go out and mix with people socially. I want you to go to parties and hang out with people. She said, I'm not that kind of a person. They're going to be drinking, they're going to be smoking, they're going to be talking about worldly things. That's just not who I am. And so they went back and forth a little bit, and she, you know, basically, I don't want to do this. And finally, Yogananda said to her, would you do this for God and Guru? And she said, well, if you put it that way, okay, I'll do it. Good point to remember. We've got to, if we don't have the right perspective, we can go down real quick. And, but it's all for God. It's all for Guru. That's why we're here. That's what we're doing. That's why it's so much fun. I mean, otherwise, yeah, it probably looks a little mundane, a little repetitive, you know, even, I don't know. But if it's for God and Guru, there's just so much fun in it. I wanted to read a passage from Autobiography of a Yogi. And this is an exchange between Yogananda and his Guru. And better get the right page. There we go. So Yogananda writes here, I always thrilled at the touch of Sri Yukteswar's holy feet. Yogis teach that a disciple is spiritually magnetized by reverent contact with a master. A subtle current is generated. The devotee's undesirable habit mechanisms in the brain are often cauterized. The groove of his worldly tendencies beneficially disturbed. Momentarily at least, he may find the secret veils of Maya lifting and glimpse the reality of bliss. My whole body responded with a liberating glow whenever I knelt in Indian fashion before my Guru. And this is really at the essence of how we participate in this miracle, that we are as conscious as we can be, or as aware as we can be, that we're doing this, we're living this for God and with God. Swami Kriyananda describes he shares many stories of time that he's spent with Anandamayi Ma, whom Yogananda talks about in his Autobiography of a Yogi. Yogananda refers to her as the joy-permeated mother. And Kriyananda had the opportunity to visit and be with her a number of times. And it came back to him at a certain point Other devotees later on shared with him words that Ma said about Swamiji. And she referred to him as a very unique disciple. She said, many people are around me often, all of the time, attending this body, very close to me in proximity, perhaps even for decades. But she said, no one has drawn from me in the way that Kriyananda has. And she used the analogy, she said, there's many frogs gathering around the lotus pad, but Kriyananda is that bee that comes in and drinks the nectar. And I love this story. Swamiji shared it quite a bit after, when he wrote a booklet of stories about his experiences with Ma, but in great humility, and I'm so grateful he did share it. Could have easily been a story he sort of tucked away, words that he tucked away. But it gives us, as the reading did an autobiography, the guidance of how to be in this miracle and how to sustain this miracle so that it can be there for others. If we are close to that consciousness, if we are close to the Guru, what is it that Swamiji did that was so exceptional? What was it? I'm sure we could answer devotion, simply with a word. But I would encourage us all, maybe later this afternoon, this evening's meditation this week, to really reflect on that. What stood out? Inwardly, of course. But what was that consciousness? What was that ability, that openness that allowed him to draw in such a very deep way? Because if we're going to recognize this life as the miracle that it is, and hold that consciousness in the mundane reality in which we also live, we need to know how to draw deeply on that divine presence. There's a wonderful story that Yogananda shared that Swamiji would oftentimes tell, I think more so toward the end of his life. It moved him very deeply. He usually couldn't get through it without pause. And it's the story of a man, a yogi, a saint. He was married. He fulfilled his responsibilities in the world, was fulfilling them, doing well with all of that. And his prayer constantly was, Father, whenever you call, I will come. If you call, I will come. And he prayed this intensely while also living his worldly responsibilities. And after some time, his wife was pregnant. They were going to have a child. And during the birth of that child, the mother died. And he was just stunned. He didn't know what to do. And here's this baby crying, helpless. Where is its mother? What am I going to do now? And he's weighing all of this in his mind and in his heart, and he hears God's voice in that moment. Come to me. Come now. And he just didn't know what to do. He was responsible to this child, but God was calling him. And he said, I believe in you, Lord. I believe in your word. I want to come, but at least show me that this child is going to be okay. And at that moment, a carriage came down the road and a large retinue of people. And this woman, he set this child at the side of the road, and he went into the bushes and just stood there waiting for God to indicate what what needs to happen here. And this carriage comes down the road, a woman gets out and runs toward the child and says, I am without child, I am unable to bear children. Lord, I will take this child and I will raise it as my own. And she takes the child in her arms, and the man knows that this is the divine will. God has showed him, and God will provide for this child. And he goes off to the Himalayas, wherever, to be with God as God is directing him. But again, this faith and this striving to tune into God for the answer in everything, everything, God alone. And maybe we don't feel that or believe that in 100% of our being, but from here to there, it's just one step at a time. And you just put a foot forward and you ask, and God responds. And you put another foot forward and God responds. So it's not like we have to get there in one step, but experiment with that, open to that. When problems beset you, when the world tries to pull you out into its problems, because these are the problems of the world, God has the answer to everything and will give a divine solution. And we'll come to know that, we'll come to recognize that, and we'll be able to participate in that and cooperate with God in that. One way that we can do this, Swamiji would oftentimes guide us, don't forget every night to give everything back to God. Go through your day. I went through my day yesterday and it was just about perfect except for one boo-boo that I made. I didn't relate to a certain person in the right way. So I'm working on that in my meditations because it wasn't a big karmic thing. It was just a spontaneous response that, my goodness, it didn't come out right. Wow. I didn't want to say that. So anyways, but you just go through the day and you remember the actions that you can, and you just give those away. You give those to God. You can do it in the morning. You can do it in the middle of the day. You can do it anytime. But in that effort to let go of it, we make room for God to come in. We make room for God to be there, recognizing that this is a rare life. This is a rare incarnation. We could be in a lot of other places. We could probably be living out a very different kind of karma that is ours, by the way. But here we are. We're living out this part of our karma, which is the opportunity of spiritual life. And we need to not take it for granted, but recognize how rare and unique it is. It's a miracle. It's a miracle to have this incarnation. And let us sustain it so that other people can be a part of it and experience it as well. Thank you.
Many hands make a miracle. Let's all join hands together. Life on earth is so wonderful as people laugh and dance and struggle as friends, then all their dreams achieve their ends. Many hands make a miracle. People climbing together. Soon we reach to the pinnacle of every mountain peak we hazard as one. We lift our hands to welcome the sun. Many hands make a miracle. Let's all join hands together.
spell.